You'll know from the accent that I'm not from around these parts originally, but I have driven my fair share of Commodores over the years, and the very first was a VX Bellina wagon in 2001. And on a long road trip from Sydney to Byron Bay and back, the Bellina's loping ride, roomy interior and massive boot proved that Holden really did know how to build the perfect car for Australia. The big question for this new imported and rebadged Opel wagon from Germany is not only whether it can continue the Commodore's family hauling reputation, but also whether it can persuade buyers away from their beloved SUVs. Sharp pricing shouldn't hurt. At $39,490, this RS Sportwagon saves $3,000 over the SV6 wagon it replaces. Even the mid-spec RS variant's sports body kit can't help the new Commodore match the muscular design of the old, locally designed model, though we think there's much to admire about its sleek, Eurocentric shape. And unlike the new Commodore sedan, the wagon is actually a bit longer than its predecessor. Does that mean more space though? It is a wagon, so we probably should do a review of the boot first. And with this RS model, you can access that boot with a little kick under the bumper. Now, if you view this new Commodore wagon with a glass half empty approach, well, it does lose more than 10% boot space over the VF wagon it replaces. And you'll also get more stuff into Holden's mid-size SUV, the Equinox. However, if you adopt a glass half full approach, it has still got a very long load space and you'll fit plenty of stuff. Like this. A supersized luggage case, 2 large suitcases, 1 holdall, a ski boot bag and a stroller. Lifestyle toys? Well, that's what roof racks are for. Fitting human cargo isn't tricky either. The rear doors open wide enough for easy ingress-egress, and once inside, even 6-foot passengers can enjoy generous legroom and headspace. It's a comfortable bench too, though sitting 3 adults across the back is squeezier than before. Up front, this is a great driving position. Very low, very natural, very car-like, as you'd expect, because this is a wagon, not an SUV. Lots of electric adjustments, very comfy seat, good bolstering. Sound ergonomics generally in the cabin too, though the touchscreen is a bit on the small side and it is prone to glare on sunny days. And that's kind of one of the biggest giveaways, that this was a cabin designed by Europeans rather than Australians. The dash layout is smartly designed though, and there's pleasant tactility to switches and buttons, and fit and finish is also generally good with the odd exception. And in our test car, the cup holder lid doesn't close properly. There's also more hard plastics than I was expecting, and certainly more than you'd get in a Volkswagen Passat wagon. Anyway, we should probably find out how it drives. I haven't driven Europe's Opel Insignia Twin to compare, but it seems Holden's significant engineering input has worked a treat for the large car's Australian transformation. The RS on its 18-inch wheels delivers a comfortable ride across the roughest of urban streets, while the suspension is even more exemplary on country roads. And yes, it even impresses dynamically, despite the switch to front-wheel drive. The Sportwagon's body control is terrific, both vertically and laterally. Very minimal lean through corners, and the damping just feels expertly tuned. So the driver's got plenty of confidence and all occupants plenty of comfort when you're travelling over typically bumpy country roads. And a bonus of the new Commodore design is that when you go into right-hand corners like this, your vision isn't impeded by the A-pillars. The steering, absolutely love it. Thoroughly accurate, super smooth. The only caveat I would say for a more spirited drive is that you do want the extra heft of the sport mode, which you access by pressing this button here. But saying that, the lightness of the steering in its default mode is absolutely fine and quite enjoyable for regular driving. Now, some of you asking about torque steer perhaps? Okay, so you can definitely tell that engine power is going through the front wheels rather than the rears, but the tugging sensation on the wheel is mild rather than wild. A bit of torque steer also means there must be some decent grunt under the bonnet. The Commodore RS features a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that shouldn't ever be confused with the wimpy 4-pot that Holden stuck in the VC back in 1980. With 191 kilowatts, the RS's 2-litre is a bit down on power compared to the 6-cylinder of the old SV6 Sportwagon this model replaces, but it matches its 350 newton metres. And that torque, in a Commodore now significantly lighter, helps to make this one damn good entry-level engine. The 2-litre is impressively responsive, and there's a lovely mid-range surge to exploit. Okay, so it sounds about as inspiring as a Dyson vacuum cleaner, but the performance is definitely strong. That responsiveness is helped by a highly effective 9-speed auto. That might sound like more gears than you'll ever need, but the transmission is smooth and decisive. It's never hunting for the right ratio. There is a little bit of turbo lag that pops up now and again, but that's mainly on hillier terrain or tighter corners. And you can overcome that to a certain extent with the sport mode that I mentioned earlier. But the big question here, where are the paddle shift levers? Surely they should be standard on a mid-spec model like the RS. Although you could argue that a greater feature oversight is the omission of standard sat-nav. What the Commodore range needs is an RSV spec for the 2-litre turbo, which would bring paddles and navigation. Currently the only RSV comes with a V6 and all-wheel drive, and costs nearly 10 grand more than this RS model. But should we also lament the loss of the true homegrown Australian wagon? Well, we do miss the cabin width, the V8 engine option, and there is a certain satisfying feeling that's unique to a rear-wheel drive car. Yet if there's little Holden DNA in the interior, there's plenty of it in the engineering. It's still a big Holden with sweet steering, a comfortable ride and enjoyably competent dynamics. And with the wagon's extra versatility, the Commodore is not yet ready to give up the fight against SUVs in the battle for the hearts and minds of the modern Australian family.